It's always fun to go to a quilt show. I love the Crook County Quilt Guild show that they have. They have it every other year. One year they'll have the quilt show here in Prineville. And then the following year, I was told that they will do a project of a particular nature and they will display that at the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show. So they have, as you saw when I first came in, there were vintage quilts that were displayed. And then there are things that were for sale. This is actually chemo quilts. There's a gal, Marilyn, who collects them and she's in charge of making sure they get dispersed. I can't remember how many they get every year, but it is a lot. And then the quilts are hanging. Each of them has a tag. There's a space for the maker to tell a little bit about the quilts. You can see it there in the little lower kind of right-hand corner. I love reading them. That one had actually been for somebody's great-granddaughter. I try to read all of them. Some people don't put anything, they don't have much to say. But it's fun to read it when someone does tell you, what inspired the quilt or who they made it for. Just makes it extra fun. I believe these were challenge quilts that the guild had. They were supposed to use 12 fabrics. I don't remember exactly what the challenge was. The ones with the yellow tags are actually the theme quilts for the year, and the theme this year had been a patchwork of love. I think I should have taken notes because I do remember some of the stories, but I think I may not remember them correctly, or I might have the wrong story with the wrong quilt, so I'm not going to try to share those. Now these quilts here are, there was a featured long arm quilter, Yvette Thomas. She was doing demonstrations from 1 to 3 in the afternoon each day. Unfortunately, we weren't there during that time, so I didn't get to hear any of her speaking, but she'd had a number of quilts there. Beautiful work. Camera picks up a little bit of it, but of course it's hard to see. They do have a Facebook page. Crook County Quilt Guild Morning is their Facebook page. And you can see a picture of the gal that was the featured long arm quilter on there. I did find it was important to remember to put the morning on there because there is apparently a Crook County Quilt Guild page that is, I think, defunct. Nothing has been posted since like 2011 or 2014, a long time ago. So if you look, make sure you get the right one. There's some more theme quilt. That one I do know the story of because that's when I entered. That was the quilt that my dad had for his hospice quilt. I intended to donate it to hospice, but then my dad needed a quilt, so I'm glad he got to enjoy it. Prineville is a small town. It's just around 11,000 people, I think, is what the population sign says now. I think the entire county is something like 20 or 30,000 people. Despite being a small community, we have some really, really talented quilters. This quilt, I do remember, was hand quilted. Isn't that amazing? When you come to the quilt show, they give you a piece of paper a small one that's your little ballot, and then you get to vote for one of the quilts that you like the best, and they have a viewer's choice award. It's so hard to choose a favorite. There's so many good ones. Postage stamp quilt there. I wish I could remember if it said how many pieces, but that's a lot. They were tiny, tiny pieces. This quilt was also hand quilted. I do remember it was a gal. She had quilted it as a military wife, or she had done the cross stitch as a military wife, and then her grandmother and her grandmother's friends hand quilted it for them. And I asked Keith, and he said he did believe that he managed to get every quilt. He hopes he didn't miss any. He thinks he didn't, but of course he tries to be careful not to get people in there because people mostly don't want to be filmed. And sometimes that's tricky. This quilt had been a block of the month that was put on by the local quilt shop, which is the Quilt Shack. Great little shop. The owner, Rhonda, is just delightful to talk to. I love the embroidery in the little cornerstones of that quilt. You might recognize that one. That's my bear quilt from over our bed. I loved this quilt. This one is wool applique and then embroidery in the corners. So pretty. And that one won, I think, viewer's choice. And then if you've been watching my channel, you know that these are quilts that I've done. It's kind of funny. I ended up having several small quilts, and so I ended up with my own little wall. It's kind of fun to see them there. So I hope you enjoyed the quilt show. I thought it was beautiful, and I can't wait for it to happen again.